Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Connect to Content. We are here to discuss how SEO is the backbone for content. And we have with us Neha Agarwal, who's an SEO consultant and founder of Digi Acai. Welcome, Neha.
Thank you, Anju. Thanks a lot.
So, you've been in the content business for many years.
Right.
Like to tell us a little bit about that journey?
Anju, I started my career in 2009. I had an engineering degree and I was placed with a very good MNC. But somehow during there was a lot of recession at that time, so I landed in SEO. And since then, I am doing SEO and content marketing. I really love what I'm doing, and it's only last year that I started my own agency. In the past, I have headed SEO for companies, majorly for startups. I have headed it for companies like Jabong, for Heads Up for Tails, IGP, Popexo in the past. And currently we have about 80 clients. Most of them are from e-commerce in India, small and medium-sized businesses. And yes, it is going pretty good.
So for somebody who's starting out, how important is SEO for your business?
I would say it is extremely important if you want to, get visibility for your brand, if you want to make sales. Anju, right? Like millions of people are searching online today. And even after lockdown and with the COVID thing happening, lots of small businesses need visibility. And SEO is one of the channels which is almost free. I wouldn't say it is completely free because, of course, you will have to hire professionals, you will have to pay for the team. However, you don't have to pay anything to, let's say, Google or to Facebook, because it's not anything like an ad. Okay, so it's just the changes on your website, making it more user-friendly. So I think SEO is really important for small and medium-sized businesses.
So I'd read somewhere that if you are not using SEO in its full potential, you're leaving it for your competitor.
Correct. Right? Absolutely true.
So what are 3 tips that you could probably give for most of the businesses that they should know about, but they don't use?
I think number one tip would be that don't think of SEO as something that we will consider at a later stage. I mean, I have seen businesses who get a website done, they build their website, they start with social media ads, they start spending money on pay-per-clicks and everything. And after years, they start thinking about SEO. SEO is not something that has to be, thought about at the later stage. I always say this thing that SEO now is not an icing on the cake. SEO is basically a very important ingredient that should be, taken into consideration while the cake is getting baked. So while your website is getting developed, at that time, if you hire a SEO professional, half of your work would be done. So this is one thing that I always tell most of the businesses, small businesses. Second thing would be, so most of the businesses think that SEO is very complicated. Okay, they think we can do something else than SEO and get better results because we don't understand SEO. Right. So you don't have to understand SEO. You just have to understand your user, and you have to make your website user friendly. There are no tricks or some sort of hacks that we use in SEO. When we are doing SEO, we just take care of user experience. So if you are taking care of user experience through your website architecture, we call it information architecture, through your content, the way you are doing publicity for your website, I would say you are already doing SEO. You just need an expert to fine tune it. So third thing would be businesses and entrepreneurs think that technical SEO is really important, and if we don't know technical SEO, we can't get SEO done. That is not the case. Even if your content is on point, then no matter if your technical is a little messed up, Google understands all these things. So don't think that technical SEO is a big barrier when it comes to SEO. Okay, you can do it yourself also if your content strategy is really good. So these are the things that I think that businesses should definitely, take care of while thinking about SEO.
So, one more question for you is, can you give us an example of how SEO has brought about immediate or impact in a large scale for a business? It'd be interesting to hear about real life market experiences that you've had.
Right. So, though I have a lot of examples, like from my e-commerce clients, companies I worked with, they have been really benefited by the SEO techniques and a lot of things. But I would like to quote something that I did as a volunteer for a spiritual organization. So there was this NGO, and they had this school for kids, and they wanted to collect donation for the school. This school was for underprivileged children. So I volunteered for that particular campaign, and when it showed results, I think that was the huge impact that I thought I have made by something I am doing professionally, and by something which is helping me earn money. So that was a great thing. Like, their school was getting visibility and all of that. Other than this, for our e-commerce clients, for Jabong, for PopExo, for the current clients that we have seen growth up to 10x for a lot of e-com clients, Shopify clients. So that has happened.
So I have one more question for you. You have worked with e-commerce as well as content businesses, right? Is your approach towards SEO different for each of them? Like e-commerce, does it follow a different methodology perhaps, and does content sites follow something else?
So, Anju, I would say that the process is same. Like, every SEO will do these three things: on-page optimization, off-page optimization, and technical SEO for whatever industry we are working with. However, customizations happened at the end, like the way you are doing the process, like strategizing, whether you want to play more on the content side, or whether, depending on the tech platform, whether you need to work more on the technical SEO part. Like, if the website is really big with lakhs of products on the website, a website like, let's say, Myntra or Nykaa, so these websites are really big websites. So here we have to take care of a lot of technical SEO related aspects. At the same time, if there is a website which is a content focused website, so you need to work more on content side of it. Okay, so how, what kind of content, what kind of keywords or topics you should choose, what kind of strategy, like in content we call it pillar cluster strategy. So this strategy we need to fit into different e-commerce websites and develop a structure where they can get a lot of help in ranking informative queries. So these things differ. Like, I would say, to summarize, I would say how you customize the process depending the industry, the niche, that is important.
There's a lot of vernacular sites, and even e-commerce, some of them are have forayed into vernacular. So is there a difference in how vernacular SEO is done, or vis-a-vis English SEO, which is what we understand?
I think that's a great question in 2021, considering there is a lot of study that is floating around since 2019, 2020, that vernacular is the new big thing in India, especially in the internet industry, with about 500 million plus users in Hindi that are accessing internet today. Right. So yes, when it comes to SEO strategy, there are a few things technically that we should take care of. Like, we need to decide whether we want to go with the subdomain, or whether we want to go with the directory folder, directory structure, or whether we need a new website altogether. So all these decisions should be taken considering both the business side of it as well as the marketing side of it. Secondly, something which is really important in vernacular is, while you are creating content, don't simply translate content from English to Hindi. Adapt according to the culture, according to the language. I'll give you a simple example. Like, suppose you're writing a blog and you have a fashion blog, and you're writing it in English, and you're writing about Sonam Kapoor's fashion. So the kind of designer wear she is wearing or her sort of fashion, and then suddenly you start writing for tier 2 and Hindi people. So I would suggest that focus on maybe some TV serial heroine or somebody who they can relate with.
Right.
Okay, so adaptability in content really helps. Don't simply translate your content from English to Hindi. Secondly, take care of the technical aspects like URL structure, what to use in the URL. If you're doing keywords research, don't simply translate English keywords to Hindi keywords. Okay, they should have a lot of sense. So if we are taking care of all these things, then vernacular SEO is quite simpler in today's times.
Do people type in English, or do you do when we do SEO, or do we need to have the keyword written in Hindi? What is the norm? Like how does it look like?
So usually when people are writing, they write in Hindi. They append in Hindi in the key along with the keyword.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if they are looking for a recipe, so they'll add in Hindi. And eventually the trend of typing in Hindi or any local language is also increasing. So if you search for, let's say, mobile phones on Google, you'll see Flipkart's website coming on the top. And they have written mobile in Hindi script, in Devanagari script in the title tag. So all these things we should be very, we should have a very strong observation what big sites are doing, what are they adapting, what are the kind of things that they are doing, and accordingly we should also make changes in our content, in our meta tags, in our URL structure. So that is helpful.
That's great, Neha. Thank you so much for the conversation and a lot of insights that you have given.
Thank you for inviting me. Thanks a lot.